Bear this torch against the cold of the night. Search your soul and reawaken the undying light. On that day, when the sky fell away, our world came to an end.
Yo, Peon.
What's good, dude?
What are you doing, man?
It's the new Smash Bros. Theme song. What do you mean?
Yeah, I know. I listened to it like 6 hours ago. We're supposed to be recording the podcast. What are you doing?
Dude, this is catchy. This is what the people want to hear.
I did not see anyone on our Twitter feed saying, "Hey, can we please hear Peon sing Smash Ultimate theme song?"
Look, bro, they don't know what they want. We got to give it to them.
All right, low key, that was kind of nice.
Atta boy. Welcome, broadcasting to the entirety of the Super Smash Bros. Community. This is Beyond the Metagame. I'm your host, Peon, this week live from a Pokeball. I'm joined, as always, by my wonderful co-host, Abhi. Abhi, how you doing, big boy?
I'm doing great. I've always thought about how inhumane Pokeballs are. Isn't it strange, like how we're like, unless there's like some kind of like resort inside of these things, which would be some kind of wild invention, but it feels like you're just like encapsulating like these dogs like inside.
Yeah, no, it's real Michael Vick shenanigans. It's it's terrible because like actually like the whole premise. I mean, speaking of Michael Vick, the whole premise of Pokemon is kind of dark. I mean, it's like but you have a cute little Pokemon who's your friend, and I have a cute little Pokemon who's my friend. Let's make them beat each other up. Like that's kind of dark, dog. Like whoa.
I mean, at least in the shows and I mean in the games, there is some kind of prime directive where you're like trying to take down this evil organization, and it's like you're using them for like some kind of good purpose. But along the way, you're fighting these randos. You're fighting these randos. You're literally just beating each other up for no reason.
You like capture an Oddish, and then you make it fight its family from like the same bush that you caught your Oddish from originally. Like it's pretty, man. I don't know, man.
Ooh, God, that's I've never thought about it that
way. but yeah, welcome to this week's episode of the Oddish podcast. But we are talking about the Direct, Abhi. I don't know about you. I can't speak for you. We haven't even really talked about this off the air yet. In pursuit of making this week's show interesting. I'm super happy, man. I'm super excited. The buzz is real, man. How you feeling?
I'm really excited to talk about it. I've been thinking about a few things, although not a huge amount of actual chunky content was released. There was enough to kind of get our heads thinking and just kind of brainstorming about what could be possibly changed in the casual and competitive scenes. There's a few things I'm really excited for, and I don't want to spoil that just yet.
For sure, man. But before we get into that, I want to do some housekeeping. I talk week in, week out about where our listeners are coming from because I have a global studies degree. I'm never going to use it outside of this one specific segment. So I got to use it, right? So
yeah. Recently,
we got listeners from Mexico, which I'm super excited about, and Australia. So thank you guys so much for listening. That's another continental plate added to our roster. Now we just need South America, Africa, and Antarctica. And then we'll have complete world domination, Abhi. How do you feel about that?
I feel pretty good. I'll definitely make sure to contact Antarctica Base Camp. See if anyone interested in Smash. Maybe send them a Smash Wii U because they're practically worthless now.
Yeah, bro. You pretty much have to pay the price of shipping. I think if I stole my girlfriend's Wii U, she would never even notice.
Yeah, the thing is actually one of the worst consoles that's ever been created.
Oh, okay, but
it plays Smash though, so it can't be that bad.
It did give us Smash 4. I can't be too upset. And Donkey Kong. Speaking of Antarctica, Tropical Freeze, Donkey Kong, great game. But yeah, we are gonna move into the Direct. Abhi, any last words before we get into it?
Yeah, I mean, I just have to say that I'm really excited to talk about a lot of these things and stuff like the improvements to multiplayer and some of the changes with the single player experiences are going to be really awesome to talk about in terms of the effects that they'll have for us outside of the game.
So all that and more in just one moment. Welcome back to Beyond the Metagame. This week, we're going over the November 1st Direct, and dude, I'm super happy about it. But before we get into the meat of it, before we talk about what we experienced, I want to ask you, what were your expectations going into the Direct?
It was interesting with all of the leaks that were going on and all of the speculation that was buzzing on Twitter, social media, within our friend groups. I had moderately high expectations, unfortunately. And not to say that it didn't meet them in some aspects, but I think my expectations were a little too high, I'd have to admit for myself. And it thankfully it didn't like put a damper on my experience watching the direct, but I was fairly certain that a lot of these leaks were likely fake due to how ridiculous that it would be if these things actually came to fruition. But overall, I actually think that if you look at my expectations versus reality, I actually would have expected a little bit more from the direct. So what about you?
Yeah, my expectations going in, I expected characters, of course. I was hoping to get some one of my kind of huge hopes of the podcast, where they would really elaborate on the online details, which they did. I don't want to. We'll get into it more later, but my expectations were not met in that regard. But it was interesting because you had all the whole leak cycle, right? You had the picture of Ken that ended up coming to fruition, and you had the famous Grinch leak with all the alleged characters showing up in the banner, which we'll get into later. But I I knew there were going to be characters announced, and I guess my whole attitude towards expectations when it comes to Rex has always been very realistic. Whatever they show me, I kind of get hyped by. Abhi, I'm kind of a sucker. Like they really have. I'm definitely their demographic. They've definitely figured out how to keep me entertained because they could have announced any character. I probably would have been hyped for it today.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, I'm usually that way, but for some reason, this one just seemed so real. With not actually because of the leak itself and all the ways that people were justifying why it was real, but the amount of people that bought into it it created this kind of like collective subconscious of people that were like this overwhelming like agreement that this thing is real.
Dude, you're right. Like people were talking about it like, hey, don't spoil it. I don't know what to do. I don't want to know what the leak is. I don't want to be spoiled. And I'm like,
right,
I'm thinking like, dude, this isn't a leak. Like it is. Well, it's a leak, but it could be a hoax. I mean, it's just. People really seem to validate the Grinch leak. Everybody around was saying, this is true. Like, don't look at it if you don't want to know.
Yeah, I mean, it's like really interesting to see how this affects like everyone's perspective on on whether like on how much they appreciate the content that was in the direct, whether they're actually going to feel a little bummed going into the game, and it kind of paints an interesting picture on leaks in general. I'm very like indifferent about them. I think if you approach them with the right mindset, like you said, or if you just don't look at them, it's good. But yeah, sometimes if you're on social media a lot and you're a fiend that's always tweeting, it's sometimes hard to avoid these things, and they do
sure.
skew. Yeah, they do skew expectations, which is why I think it's just always best to go in with as low expectations as possible, like you said, so you're just always happy and always excited about what Nintendo's going to throw at us.
Yeah, no, for sure. I feel like it really relates to in game. When you're actually playing, I think like something that you talk about a lot, Abby, is you personally have referenced on the show that when you have low expectations towards your play, like let's say you have somewhere to be, or you're feeling sick or you're tired or something, and I've witnessed this in real time, just like being in tournaments with you, where you'll look so out of it, and you'll just be playing out of your mind because you'll have no expectations on your performance in that day. And yeah, maybe that's good advice to give people when it comes to like directs, and also when the game comes out, to just temper your expectations, just go into it like YOLO. Let's just see what happens. Let's have fun with it. Kind of a mindset.
Absolutely. Like I can definitely think about the 3 best performances I've had in tournament, and I think 3 out of 3, at least 2 out of 3 were days that I just went in saying I'm not going to do well. It's so funny, and like and one of them I was just saying the entire time, is like, "Yo, I need to go home. Like, can I please stop winning? Like, I need to go. I actually needed to go home. I had somewhere to be."
You jerk, dude.
And yeah, I felt like a dick because like people were people were like hearing me say like, "Oh yeah, like it's like, oh, you need to go home. Yeah, just give up. Like, give me your bracket spot."
Yeah, bro. Some guys, oh yeah, I just got double eliminated by my bracket demon. Oh yeah, for sure, dude. I don't even want to be here, but I keep winning. Like, oh, screw you, bro. But it's been about 11 hours since the direct aired first, right? What do you feel about it now? I mean, I've seen like a lot of the buzz on social media. I guess first I want to hear about your opinions of the characters, right? So let me set the stage. You are sitting in front of your laptop. What were you watching on? Phone?
Laptop.
You're on your laptop, and you turn it on, and you see Little Mac swing it away. His big triceps are bulging. He's throwing rapid fire. I think he's rapid jabbing in the cutscene. He's just throwing out a bunch of punches. And who's he fighting but Ken? So let's start there. What do you think about Ken being announced?
So I love Ken. I think the reason that that at least some of my expectations were met was how well like fleshed out of a character Ken seems like he is. With all of his different with his different tilts and his like port over from like Street Fighter 2 Turbo, like there's just this other. It doesn't feel like it's just a Ryu copy. It actually feels like a very fleshed out character. I love the attention to detail with like the special back throw.
Oh yeah, the backwards roll thing.
Yeah, exactly. And the fiery Shoryuken. And the thing is, I know competitive is likely not playing with final smashes, but his final smashes look clean.
Oh, like, they do. They really do.
Like that's actually what got me hyped the most. And as like a competitive player, like the more casual thing really got me way more hyped. Like that volcano Shoryuken was just like was pretty mind blowing. I don't know. What were your first impressions of Ken? Well,
I'll say he seems to be at least as differentiated from Ryu in this game as he was in the original Street Fighter 2. I know they referenced Street Fighter 2 Turbo in the direct, right? But either way, the games were that different. I grew up playing Street Fighter 2. One of my earliest childhood memories was my dad and my brother playing the Super Nintendo, and they were playing two games. They were playing Donkey Kong Country, which explains my excitement for K. Rool, but that's a different story, and Street Fighter 2. And my brother, from day one, was a Ken main, and I was someone that looked up. He's my older brother, 6 years older than me, so I always looked up to him. So I always had a bit of an infatuation with Ken. I thought he was cool because my brother thought he was cool. And yes, I've always had a little bit of a soft spot for the character. I have history with the character, and I love his theme, like the do 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 do. Well, they've heard me sing enough this episode, probably, but but you get my point. I'm really excited for Ken. I think that I've heard the least amount of buzz in response to him coming out. But I'm really excited for Ken. I think he's gonna be a great character.
Yeah, I think he's really cool. You were gonna say something?
Yeah, I'll just wrap it off. Sorry. I think that he and Ryu both satisfy that great kind of niche. He really rewards the kind of player that's really technical in high pressure situations. He suits a play style where if you're the kind of person where you're kind of cold blooded, and you know that in the heat of the moment on the last stock game ending situation, you can pull off the perfect input and do something difficult under pressure, he will disproportionately reward you. I think that's a playstyle that's really cool. I'm really happy that Sakurai is endorsing that playstyle and giving us another vehicle with which to perform that playstyle in tournament.
Absolutely. I think overall very happy, especially is he officially an Echo Fighter?
Okay, I know in the direct they literally said he was an Echo Fighter in his. He was like, oh, he was actually like the original Echo Fighter. I think so. Yeah.
I think he is because in Cineroar, who we're going to get into, I believe is number 69. So he would have had to be.
Because
Isabel's number 68. So
yeah, you're right.
Cineroar's number 69. And in Cineroar, as a Pokemon fan, a very, very huge Pokemon fan, I actually like Incineroar. A lot of people are mixed on this. I think he's a great addition to the game. I would have liked to see more Generation 3 representation because that is my favorite generation. And I think they're definitely, in terms of the total sales and total like the amount of like volume of games that Nintendo has, it wouldn't really be out of the blue to throw in a Gen 3 rep. But if they were
Who
to
would you
throw
have
in,
if you could pick?
I think that I would have to either pick like one of the starters. I think Sceptile, Grovyle actually too, or Swampert. I think those are likely the ones that would be fleshed out well. I mean, I have thought about it, and a lot of the Gen 3 characters, I think I would agree wouldn't be perfect, but I think the starters would be very cool.
I'm down for that. I think.
Yeah.
What do you think about this? I mean, just real quick while we're on the subject, we did like an Echo Fighter of the Pokemon trainer, but he gets like a different generation's starters. Like,
I love that.
You like
yeah.
that? Okay,
Yeah,
Sakurai,
that.
take the idea, baby. I'll let one is like 10% commissions on the 599, and we're call it a day, baby. All right, but moving on. Yeah, we're talking about Incineroar.
Yeah, so Incineroar, I think, is an extremely well fleshed out character in terms of personality. Now, I know that a huge prime directive in this game was to go toward bringing more personality to all of the characters. This was clearly seen with characters like Game & Watch, Donkey Kong, and now with Incineroar and like his poses and his like very like wrestling and grappler style aesthetic. He's really capturing a story very well. And like aside from his extremely visually pleasing animations and very meaningful attacks and ways that he puts himself apart from the cast, it's just his personality looks incredible. I love the execution of this character.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Like the fact that he poses after attacks. He really has like you said, personality. What kind of guy do you think is going to be the Incineroar main? You know, I feel like he's going to attract a certain archetype of dude. Like, what do you think about that?
I think like half of the Roy mains are gonna go to Incineroar, and then like the other half are just gonna keep playing Roy.
I think Ganondorf mains are gonna be Incineroar mains too. Like, disrespect and like.
Really, I think I think some Ganondorf mains who wanna like if Incineroar is like low tier, like some Ganondorf mains who wanna continue hating themselves will go play Incineroar.
Yeah.
But I actually think Ganondorf mains will be like, yo, my character might actually be good in this game. I'm gonna go play Ganondorf again.
Yeah, I'm down for that. I'm down for that.
Yeah.
And then, so out of left field, like we saw Ken, we saw Incineroar. I was like, okay, you know, all right, that makes sense. You know, so far, I saw both these two characters coming, and then I think, dude, if there was a gun up to my head, and someone was like, "Yo, Peon, you have 1,000 guesses to tell me who the next Smash Brothers character is, and if you don't guess it, I'm sorry, bud. Say bye bye." I'd be 6 feet under right now, Abhi. There's no way in hell that I was gonna say, piranha plant. Like, what?
I agree. But here's the funny part. A lot of people are super taken aback by this. I thought it was absolutely hilarious, and I don't think it's like a waste of development time. I don't think that it's like a waste of a character slot. I actually think that the Mario universe could always use more reps in Smash, and this is an interesting one, and they somehow managed in classic Sakurai like Smash fashion, like they did with Wii Fit Trainer and Game & Watch and Rob, they managed to give life to this character. And I don't know how.
It's crazy, because like, okay, if you asked me yesterday, what do you think about piranha plants, Peon? I'd be like, you know, they're Mario enemies, right? I mean, I've kind of indifferent about them. But after seeing him in action and like seeing him kind of scoot around the ground with his pipe somehow, and it looks like he can kind of like blow on the spinies and use projectiles in a really interesting way, and he can like elongate his vine out of the pipe and get crazy range on his smash attacks. I was like, okay, this character is unique. Like, he's gonna have a playstyle that's all his own. That like piranha plant mains, which is so weird to even say, are going to have a really unique play style, and that's fun, man. Here's the thing, and I'm gonna drop some hard truth bombs right now. Okay, ready for this?
Yeah, I'm ready.
A lot of people want characters like Sora and Isaac from Golden Sun to make it. You know, Sora from Kingdom Hearts. And while I think that both characters are more deserving than Piranha Plant, certainly, and probably many other characters, how many like anime swordsmen are we gonna have in the game? You know, like there comes a point where like the character's inclusion has to one be like relevant to Nintendo or to gaming, like Pac-Man or something, you know, and then also be a substantial character that has a fan base, and have a potential play style that's really fun and unique, right? To justify the development time. And while Piranha Plant, I don't think is the most deserving character in terms of like legacy or fan base, I think it's justified with his unique gameplay styles. What do you think?
I think the first thing that you're mistaking is that you're assuming that Piranha Plant's a dude.
Okay, did I say he?
Yeah, dude.
Man.
I think that Piranha Plants should be gender neutral. we don't. Oh my god.
Oh, I'm down. My mistake. I was thinking my basis was Petey Piranha, but he doesn't speak for all. Surely they have to reproduce. So
I suppose, yeah.
Well, maybe Petey's a girl. I don't know anymore. Either way, dude. I'm excited for Petey Piranha, or not Petey Piranha, the Piranha Plant. Although I suppose Petey Piranha is the final Smash. We'll be seeing him too. But I'm excited, man, and I'll ask you the same question. Incineroar people, you said are half Roy's. Who's gonna be the next like Piranha Plant main?
Just the troll, the Joker. Like, I feel like it's such like a jokey character. Unless this character is like actually really viable, then people will pick it up because it's a good character. Like,
yeah,
you'd have to be a real jokester to main Piranha Plant. And here's the reason why. A lot of people play characters. When they play characters, they take on the identity of their character. Never have we really seen an RPG hazard become like it's as if like a thwomp became a playable character. I mean, obviously like Piranha Plants have more versatility, which is why they were used, but there's no life essence other than the one that was gifted to this character by Sakurai. So in order to play this character and to really identify with this character, not saying that whoever plays and identifies with this character lacks life, lacks the essence of life, but they would have to be a real jokester.
Dude, I think there's something to be said about like the people that love to project a personality like onto a character. I think Game & Watch. Right, Game & Watch up until this point they kind of gave my face and stuff, but let's say Smash 4, Melee, and Brawl, of course. Game & Watch, I mean, he just kind of does beeps. He does like various beeps and boops. Like he doesn't really have a personality. But Game & Watch has such a weird cult following. Like people love Game & Watch. And I think we'll see the same thing with Piranha Plant. I think people will kind of like make up their own headcanon for what the Piranha Plant is like, like there'll be like some weird like Rule 34 like Piranha Plant, but I think Piranha Plant's gonna blow up. Like people call Smash the Kingmaker. Everything that's in Smash, think Fire Emblem, think these game series that blew up because of Smash's touch. The Hand of God, the Midas touch, everything that touches turns to gold. I think we're gonna see that with Piranha Plant. I think that Piranha Plant is gonna have a weird following like in 2 years from now.
Here's the thing: Piranha Plant has a spike, so we it's like the pot, like bring down the pot. Like, did you see the spike in the trailer?
Oh yes, I did. The run off there, that was sick. Of course I did.
Of course you did. You couldn't have missed it. I died laughing after seeing that. I was like, do you really just get styled up by a potted plant?
I saw this. Yeah, dude. That's great. That's great. Now I want to ask you. This actually made me think of something while we were talking about it just now. Piranha Plant is a character whose playstyle has never been captured in a previous installment of Smash. So I want to ask you what you think the legitimacy of this strategy of picking up a character like Piranha Plant early on into the game's lifestyle. Let's say, I mean, he's a DLC character, so apparently he's going to drop around February. Let's say February rolls around. Do you think there's some legitimacy to the argument, like, hey, pick up Piranha Plant, really kind of master him in a week or two, as much as you can. I mean, you won't be mastering it, but really learn him, and then bring him into tournament. Like, people aren't going to be used to fighting that kind of playstyle. You know, what do you think about that argument?
I think it's an interesting like blue shell tactic. Like like you could just like randomly like surprise someone with like sick viney gameplay. Like I think it's interesting, but I think that will be less important in this game, and here's why. There's going to be so many characters. The amount of matchups in this game are going to be ridiculous. I doubt that when February comes along, people have mastered every matchup. I think it'll still throw people for a loop, but people are going to be way more focused on themselves, on their own character, on their movement, their tech skill, and mastering their own character than actually learning matchups by then. I mean, obviously at the top, we're going to see some really strong progression in terms of matchups, and people are going to be learning at different rates. But at the mid level, I think people will still be like figuring out and like grasping their own movement and their own character to the point where I don't think it's going to matter.
Yeah, that's fair. I think another counter argument to my initial claim was that when I keep saying that, when Piranha Plant comes out, everybody and their mother is going to be playing against Piranha Plant, like on Wi-Fi, in person, you know, and they're going to learn the matchup with their main. But if you're a new Piranha Plant main, you have to learn like 75 matchups, you know, that first week, where everybody else just has to learn one.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, but the thing is, like, people are just going to be focusing on their own characters, so it's interesting. It's like we've talked about like before, when you're playing the piano, you there's this like mind-blowing switch from like looking at your hands when what keys they're touching, to looking at the paper and reading ahead and predicting where your hands have to go.
Right.
Similarly, it's like we're still gonna have people looking at their hands for a bit. We're in terms of people are gonna be focusing on their own character instead of focusing on their opponent's character. So I actually don't think that even your counter argument to your own point is, I actually still think that people are going to be figuring out like movement with Piranha Plant. They're not going to be worried about like learning every matchup, unless there's like one character that's obviously like way better than all the other ones.
Yeah, sure thing. You know, I think now's the appropriate time to transition. We talked about the characters in depth. I think we did a good job about that. I want to talk about the new features in the game, and I want to first talk about the Wi-Fi experience. And now my thoughts aren't fully developed on this yet. I've been thinking about it all day, ever since watching the direct. But the changes in the Wi-Fi play haven't instilled too much confidence in me in terms of, you know, leveraging Wi-Fi as this like awesome breeding ground for improvement. And I'll elaborate. You know, I'm a PC gamer. I play PC games. I play Xbox. I played Xbox since Xbox Live first debuted on the Xbox. What was it, 2003, 2004? Regardless, let me just say, in 2004, I was playing Halo 2, and that game had better online features than any Nintendo game I've ever played, ever. I'm talking about Splatoon 2, which came out 13 years later. Had miserable online experience compared to Halo 2. And, you know, I just keep hoping, okay, the Nintendo Online was announced. What does that mean that they're really going to focus this time around on the online experience? I had high expectations. And from what they showed me today, my confidence has not been instilled. And I will reference two specific points to support that claim. One big red flag I had was Sakurai was literally like, which I kind of appreciate in a way. He says, you know, make sure you have a good connection. I'd recommend buying a LAN adapter. Which is like, okay, word. Like, thank you for saying that, Sakurai. But at the same time, I have never ever bought a game where the developer was like, hey, make sure your internet's good. Because the connection just works. If you have bad internet, you don't get good matches. Like, if you have good internet, you get paired with people with other good internet. It just seems, am I wrong to think that to expect networking to be at a higher level from the Nintendo team, or am I just a fool for expecting that?
I think it's just something because it is peer to peer. Yeah, we are experiencing a thing like it's you're very dependent on your opponent for how good your connection is. Whereas in Halo and with multiplayer games, it's not peer to peer. Your connection isn't dependent on your opponents. You're
No,
pinging
no,
a
no, no,
server. Yeah.
no, no, no. Plenty of those games. I mean, Halo 2 is peer to peer. That was way
Well,
before dedicated servers were a thing.
really.
Hmm.
So it was okay. If that's the case, then I think the developers were just literally didn't have the vehicle to say, hey, like go buy a LAN adapter or something.
Yeah,
I think I actually think that it's a little strange to say, but I think he's just hoping that people will give each other good connections. It's a lot like getting vaccinated, right? Like you're trying to promote good quality internet, but that like for everyone.
sure. I'm not a network engineer. Okay, I'm not out here giving Sakurai a solution. So I hesitate to criticize that much. All I know is when I play other games with a peer-to-peer connection, I don't worry about it. It just works. But regardless, I'm sorry, rant over. But I want to touch on the actual features and constructively talk about, how is that going to affect the leveling up process in Smash Ultimate and Smash Four. Long ago, before I ever really went to my first tournament, I was a Wi-Fi fiend. What actually got me into competitive Smash Four was the fact that I could play it with other people. At the time, okay, I'll tell a brief story. At the end of my freshman year, I was playing Melee all freshman year of college. I leave for summer break and I go home and I still want to play Smash. But it's either me beating up like a Falco, some bots in Melee as Falco, or going online on Smash 4 and dunking people with Mario. So, because I like fighting other people, I played Smash 4. And those Wi-Fi features really ushered me into the competitive scene. So I'm thankful for them. I'm grateful for them, and I really appreciate what they've done for the community. But I think that to catch a wider audience, right, to really grow our scene, um, the online needs to be better this time around. The features need to be better. Looking at what features were proposed today, Abby, do you think that we're gonna have a healthier greeting ground for learning Smash Ultimate and also converting those people into competitive-minded players?
I think it's hard to say initially. I really like the idea of splitting people based off of the rules that they said. I think that's a lot. I think that makes a lot more sense than doing a for fun or for glory modes. I think hopefully we don't get too much crossover between the modes and people aren't pulled into matches that they don't want to be in. But I think that's a good step forward. I don't think it changes anything. That side, I do really want to talk about the Elite Smash
Oh yeah,
option.
yeah, sure.
I think that will have a lot of ramifications for competitive play. We don't currently know how exclusive it is or what the requirements are to get in.
I'll quote the direct. If you're an elite smasher, you're good. Period.
Yeah, it's very hard to get from that. It's very hard to get information from that because as we know, you can in if you played Smash 4, you can two stock someone that can two stock someone that can two stock someone.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
kind
There's
of like
levels, right?
there's this like really strange like exponential like skill difference. So we don't know what good means to them. I think if Elite becomes like something that houses all of the players that are just like mid and above, I think that's the strongest place for it to be in. If it's like basically captures like people who are playing competitively and going to tournaments and it's like exclusively matchmaking for those people, I think that's perfect because then there's this exclusive service that you don't need to sign up for like anthers. You can just immediately go into a match where you know you're going to play against a very valuable opponent. You're going to get data. You're going to get a strong you're going to get a strong match where you're going to learn something from, and that it's in itself is going to be really valuable. I think Wi-Fi in Smash 4, you were just kind of like you're just kind of throwing your line out there and hoping you reel in something good.
Right.
And when you did reel in something good, you played with that person for as long as humanly
hours,
possible.
dude, hours.
You stayed there because you knew that if you go back out into the wild, you go back out into the jungle, like you could get anything. Like,
yeah, there'd be days where I'd have like a 10-minute conversation with my girlfriend on the phone. It'd be a lovely conversation. Then I'd spend like 4 hours with some duck hunt on For Glory, like because his Wi-Fi was good.
Yeah, exactly. I think that good Wi-Fi is really important. Although it's more important to show up to your local scene and to get the community interactions and to really like be able to grab as much in-person experience as possible, especially if you want to become competitive at the game.
Wait, before we move on to that,
yes.
Well, I'll let you make your point. I apologize.
However, I do think that it's really important to have a strong Wi-Fi game, and there are always going to be players that are Wi-Fi exclusive. And eventually, once these players are like playing Wi-Fi for ages, and let's just say they get into Elite, and then suddenly like they're playing against really good players, we have this like wonderful conversion path from like just pure Wi-Fi to actual tournaments, because these players are going to be really good on day one.
Right, of course. And you know, it's worth mentioning, like when I said I really got into competitive Smash 4 through Wi-Fi, what it really was for me, as silly as it might be to some, was that tournament mode they added partway through the Smash 4's lifespan and then eventually deleted.
Yeah.
With the death of Miiverse. That tournament mode, I remember I won a couple of those Wi-Fi brackets, and I remember being in the grand finals of those like Wi-Fi in-game tournaments, and I'd be shaking, like my hands would be shaking. But okay, I have to play against this, and I would be so invested in these matches, and I would win, and I would just lean back in my chair and sigh, and I would feel so accomplished, and it was just I probably just beat some like 11-year-old who was like arguing with his brother on the couch. But I still, the satisfaction was the same, and it really got me hooked onto like that desire to win and to compete and to show my stuff. So who knows? They didn't mention a tournament mode in this direct, but they could always add it in the future, such as they did in Smash 4, or maybe it'll be there in launch. They just never got to in the direct. But I wanna talk about how to take advantage of this ecosystem that has been announced. Right? Like I said, this is a prediction. I don't have the game in my hands. But based on what they've shown me, I don't have confidence in the network infrastructure that they've built. I don't think that this game is going to be as seamless as other fighting games as online are, or other games like League of Legends or Counter Strikes or some of the big esports that are predominantly played online. I don't think we're going to have that. But what we get is what we get, right? So what can you still learn from this system? Let's say worst case scenario, let's be doomsayers, right? Let's say the connections are as they were in Smash 4, or maybe even Brawl. Something goes terribly wrong, which I don't think is going to happen. But what can you learn from this system that's in place? I think what's really valuable is character matchups. Even if your connection is slow and your punishes aren't as crisp as they would be in LAN, you can really understand, okay, what options does this kind of character main go for? I'm playing against a lot of Ryus, and they're all really trying to confirm into true Shoryuken. Or I'm playing against Diddy Kong, and they'll really want to grab their banana as much as possible. You can kind of learn tendencies. What do you think about that, Abhi? What kind of mindset should you have learning the game through Wi-Fi?
I think you should try to learn the game from a habits and holistic standpoint, instead of trying to learn stuff that is based off of reaction time or frame perfect things that you want to practice like tech. When you have a good connection, I think that then you should start kind of trying to do this stuff. But if you're just unable to find a good connection and you really just want to play Wi-Fi, then focusing on why things are going on and what's going on like when you get hit, when you hit someone, there's basically very like broad scope things about the game, about the neutral and different interactions are probably the way to go, and that's how I approached Smash 4 Wi-Fi. I had a much different experience, interestingly, on Wi-Fi. I've heard a lot of people had really bad experiences with connections, but interestingly enough, I had a lot of really strong. I had a decent amount of good connections, and like yeah, I would be always like trying to. I would be, if I found a really good connection, I would be sticking with them for ages. But it's not to the point where it was absolutely unplayable. However, I would like to see some improvements with networking if possible, and I think that's really important. But in terms of like where we should be going with Wi-Fi and how we should be approaching it as a player in terms of improvement is just based off of like what will I like if it's basically no lag, just do whatever you want, do your normal thing. But if there's some lag, don't like expect things to translate over easily, because if you get used to the input lag, you have to get used to it back when you're playing without it.
Yeah, I think the main advice I would give is just when you're playing Wi-Fi, treat it like you're playing Wi-Fi. Don't treat it like you're playing the game. Think of it as two different games. Think, okay, there's Wi-Fi Smash and there's Smash. And on Wi-Fi Smash, just really focus again, not on your punishes, not on your ledge trapping, not on stuff like that, not on things that require frame reactions. Yeah, like Abhi said, look at those broad strokes and just try to learn as much about the game as possible and have fun with it. Have fun with it. I know I'm gonna be on Wi-Fi a bunch when the game first drops, just because I'll be itching to play so much. I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely, man. I'll be likely using the same the same mentality towards Wi-Fi, and I'm really excited about possible improvements and where Nintendo is taking this direction. And I'm gonna be pretty optimistic about it. One thing that I did want to pivot over to was the new spirits mode. Now, there's a lot that we have to consider about this in terms of like, are spirits going to be playable characters that can come back as DLC? Now, that's something really interesting that we haven't really figured out yet. I know, Peon, you were talking about earlier with me about Captain K. Rool versus King K. Rool. So, what was it? Captain K. Rool was a spirit?
Yeah, so I saw online Captain K. Rool was a spirit. I've been seeing it on Twitter and stuff, which makes me optimistic because a lot of people, you have the classic instance. Like today we saw Isaac and Shadow and some other Waluigi is a classic example of characters that appear as assist trophies, and it kind of also deconfirms them as playable fighters, right? Because you're not going to have a playable fighter that's also an assist trophy, and so people are wondering the same thing. Is are the spirits also going to be those those things that disqualify a character from ever appearing as a fighter? And so one piece of counter evidence that people are using to support the argument that, wait, no, maybe spirits can also be playable fighters, is that Captain K. Rool is one of the spirits. And the thing is, as a Donkey Kong lore aficionado, I can say this. There's like a lot of debate between whether King K. Rool and Captain K. Rool are the same guy, yada yada. So I don't know. I'm cautiously optimistic that spirits can also one day become playable, because there's some pretty cool characters that are spirits. Dixie Kong, for instance.
Yeah, you really like the Donkey Kong Country. Yeah, definitely, man. Aside from spirits, which I think is a cool single player mode, I like the idea of developing characters and kind of it feels like a phone game. Actually, it feels like a one of those games you'd play like Fire Emblem Heroes, except on the Switch. I think it's interesting. I think it has some merit. What I think is really cool and what I'm really excited for is the new adventure mode.
Wait, just real quick about the spirits. Just
yes,
quick answer.
yeah.
What do you think about the competitive viability? Because we did live in a world where customs were in Smash 4 competitive for a while. So.
No, it's going to be too much of a pain. The spirits are unlocked. It's completely random. Like they're just in the same way that customizations were randomly unlocked and custom moves weren't consistently on every console. without like a lot of preparation, we're just not going to see. I just don't see a world in which this is ever competitive.
I'm with you. Just for the record. Yeah. So I would advise, going into this game, I wouldn't spend too much time. If you're trying to be a competitor, I wouldn't spend too much time worrying about like that. I mean, have fun with it, but don't.
Yeah, I mean, on that note, I mean, there's like, I actually think we're going to be a little too optimistic about things that are actually going to be competitively viable. I know on the Nintendo Treehouse today, they were playing with Smash Meter, and they're playing 3-stock Smash Meter, like, what was it, say 6 minutes. I think Nintendo is trying to push that towards possibly being a competitive format. I don't see it happening. I will be cautiously pessimistic about that. I think that Final Smashes seem incredibly unbalanced. There are ones that are just far stronger than other ones. Like ones kill way earlier. Like if you look at Villager's Final Smash, it's like it will kill people at like 40, whereas we were watching Incineroar's Final Smash wasn't even killing people from center stage at like 70 or 80, which is strange. So I actually think there's just going to be a lot of imbalance. It doesn't take much skill to pull off. Like there's no crazy input to that guards or like that guards against these strong moves like in other like classic 2D fighters where you have to pull off like a string to pull off like a super. It's not the game. It doesn't seem like the game's actually really balanced around it. So I don't see.
I'm with you.
Yeah, I don't see this going. Just to kind of like touch that topic, because it was, I did notice that that's the mode they were playing in Treehouse.
Yeah, I mean, I'm down to give it a try, but right. I'm with you that it doesn't seem like a good solution. But
right.
You know, maybe a couple beers in me, you give me the right state of mind, I might change my mind on that.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, and now I guess to further pivot off that, Sakurai himself said, "Hey, you want to know why these spirits are spirits? You know, we have a mode that's going to explain that." And then he showed us like this brilliant cutscene where Marth like awkwardly was speaking English. That creeped me out, dude. He was like, "Oh, we each have to take out 10 hands or something." I'm like, "What? Who's this Tom Sawyer, blue-haired Tom Sawyer talking to me? I want to hear your words." Regardless, Zelda was there. Look, she was holding it down.
Right.
And no, it was a really brilliant cutscene. It made me optimistic for what they're going to show in game, like, just from a pure casual standpoint. Like the cutscenes in, I mean, I'm very well known for my dislike of Subspace Emissary, but I've said it on this podcast. I loved the cutscenes and the character interactions that we got in that mode. The gameplay itself is just what bugged me. But this time around, man, we see what appears to be a continuation of that high production quality cutscenes and character interactions, while it looks like the mode itself is more just traditional kind of Smash. What are your first impressions of that mode?
I think it's interesting. I think people will be able to get a hold of all of these characters. I do think it'll be the primary vehicle in terms of unlocking characters. It definitely seems like that, because we're starting off with just Kirby. It seems like Kirby seems to be the protagonist, the hero,
chosen one, the Frodo Baggins, the Luke Skywalker, the Harry Potter,
and then Kirby. Kirby's an insanely powerful creature, which we won't get into, but I actually think Kirby's a ridiculously overpowered creature if you think about it. But yes, I think that it's going to be cool as a single player unlocking experience. It's going to be a lot more fun than going into VS mode, setting it to one stock, and then SDing over and over again to unlock all the characters. I think I'm glad that we're going to get a meaningful character unlock experience, which I'm not just speculating. This is from Sakurai's words himself. He said we are getting a meaningful character unlocking experience. So I do believe this is it.
I have a question.
I'm excited. Yeah.
Assuming, sorry to cut you off at the end there. Assuming that is the case, and to beat this mode is how you unlock all the characters. Let's just assume it's a substantial, meaty experience. I mean, do you remember off the top of your head how long Subspace was to play through? Like for a casual playthrough, it was like 10, 20 hours, something like that?
I mean, it really depends on what difficulty you played it at. I actually think it was really, I guess, masochistically fun to play on the hardest difficulty and try to 100% the game. I mean, obviously, I hold a different opinion that Subspace was fun. I mean, I know that you don't. It's okay to be wrong. I'm just kidding, but I know everyone kind of feels differently about subspace, but I think there's about like if you're pushing it, there's about like 10 hours of content in there.
Okay, so let's say it's okay. So let's say you're a coach, right? You're TSM Zero's coach, yeah, and you are advising. Okay, there's a major a month out, or let's say there's like a weekly tournament a week from launch. Do you go into the game? Is that the first thing you do? Like if you're a super try hard, do you just sit down and like unlock the game? Because I know you can unlock the characters with amiibos apparently. Like, do you just go the amiibo route? Do you play through the mode and have fun with it, ease into the experience? Like, what's the most competitive way to approach this?
I mean, obviously the most competitive way to approach it, with assuming you have no cap on the money you can you can just like spend on amiibos, or just buy every amiibo and then throw all the characters in the game and start playing. That's how I do it. I mean, but I obviously am not going to do that because I think everyone's going to take their time.
Do you own any amiibos?
Playing the adventure. I own a Dark Pit amiibo.
Wait, why? That's not the worst one.
The worst one.
I think Dark Pit. I think the Piranha Plant has more personality. I think the Piranha Plant already has more fans than Dark Pit does. Like after being announced for 11 hours.
That's just wrong, dude. Dark Pit's cool, man. Dark Pit's cool. Like. The zeros are purple. All
right.
No, I'm kidding. You're probably right. Actually, Dark Pit is. It's good that they created this new Echo classification because Dark Pit was a very underdeveloped character. I hope that there were some of these changes to like improve the personality of his character. I actually didn't see that because I did see some Dark Pit gameplay today. So I mean, I actually think Piranha Plant might actually be like have more personality than Dark Pit. It's funny, but yeah, along those lines, yeah, I do have a Dark Pit amiibo. I won it in a tournament, and
okay.
It wasn't my choosing to go out and buy a Dark Pit amiibo.
I actually, in my mind, you were just like you were getting some groceries. Your woman was like, AV, go get some. I need some peas for my casserole. You're like, okay, sure thing, woman. And you just walk to the market all begrudgingly, and you're passing by the entertainment aisle, and you see Dark Pit in the corner of your eyes. Oh, I have to have that. See that's where I was. That was my frame of reference. That's what I was imagining.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. That's at least in my head canon. That is not what happened.
Oh, I'm glad we're on the same page. But all in all, man, I'll say I'm actually, as the subspace hater that I am, I think this is going to be a good mode. I think that it kind of blends the adventure mode from Melee and the subspace emissary mode from Brawl in the sense that the moment-to-moment gameplay doesn't seem so like platformy like it is in Brawl. It seems like you'd be fighting a lot of the time, which I'm down for. That's why I play the game. I like to fight stuff. Am I crazy? Am I insane?
No, I don't think you're crazy. I think that there's another novelty to adventure in subspace. I think that people will be very split on this, although I don't think people are going to complain about like small tweaks to the base game in this adventure mode. So I think it's just going to be pretty good content overall.
Yeah, so I mean, I just want to wrap it up. Like, what we saw today was our final glimpse into the game before release, and I have to say that I have not been this excited for a Smash game since Brawl. I think this is going to be so great. Everything they've shown so far has shown that this game is filled with love. It's filled to the brim with content for every kind of person. And I think like those modes that we're talking about, I mean, the Spirits mode even doesn't appeal to me that much, but even the single player mode. Wait, I'm dropping the name again. World of Light. The World of Light mode seems really fun. And I think it'll be cool to have something to replay. If you ever get tired of the game, if you ever get burnt out from playing Wi-Fi or tournaments, just hop on and just casually kind of play the game, watch the cutscenes, just to kind of remember what got you into the game in the first place.
Yeah, definitely. I think casual play is really underrated. We forget how we all started, or I mean, there are some of us that started as competitive players, but most of us started as casual players. Smash is a very grassroots game. It's good to go back to those grassroots and to understand why we love this game And just throw a few single player or multiplayer casual experiences down, and just kind of just find a way to create a happy space away from competitive, so you can really like clear your head, especially when maybe things aren't going your way in terms of progression or goals in the competitive scene. With that being said, I think we should jump over to our Twitter questions for the day.
Let's do it.
All right. So Nachos the dog says, "What are your thoughts on the parallel of character hate in Smash games, i.e., Ices, Puff, MK, Bayo? How far does this hate reach? What are its negative effects? And how can we prevent this in Ultimate?" All right, Peon, why don't you field that one?
Yeah, we talked about this a bit in the identity episodes, where I think it's a really interesting question. So thanks for asking, Nachos, and I always like talking about it. Talking about the connection between the player and the character that you play, and also how you're perceived, right? Those kind of three things. And I think the hate goes pretty far, especially in a more broader sense, like the national sense. In a local scene, I think you could play any character, and as long as your scene isn't full of complete jerks, which I've never really encountered, you'll be fine. You'll play whatever character you want, have fun with the game, whatever. But yeah, the better you get, the more known that you are. I think that people will really, or even if you just play on Twitch chat and somebody happens to tune in, you'll get hate. I think the hate's really real. I mean, it reaches far enough to where the person playing those characters is going to experience it in some way or another. I mean, I played Cloud in Smash 4, which isn't even that hated of a character relative to the characters that were listed. And, whenever I play on stream and Twitch chat, there's almost always some guy saying, "Ugh, Cloud. This Cloud, wow, this guy sucks, Cloud. He plays Cloud." It just kind of happens, So, as far as how we can prevent it, I don't really know. I don't know if I have the answer to that. I mean, calling it out at the source, nipping it in the bud when you see that kind of attitude, really discouraging it, of course, especially on the local level, and B, communities like ours, right? A community focused on improving, enjoying the game. I think that we all together, not even just AV and I, but all the listeners too, have the power to say, "Look, man, just get good at the game." Get good at the game. Blaming a character is not, and hating someone for playing a character is not constructive. Simply, what do you think, Abhi?
Yeah, I think that it's something that's very endemic to just any competitive sport or competitive thing in general, is that people will find ways to take away from people's victories in any competition, because it's easier to do that than to look at your own faults. This comes from deep insecurities, which is why it's like you said, it's impossible to completely stomp out unless you're really focusing on calling people out every time that they let these insecurities get when they bring them outside and start affecting other people. They're always going to be there. You just have to be the change, and either call people out, or if you feel like you're starting to get into this mentality, understand that bringing out negative energy into the community will come back to you. It honestly does, because of how like well the Smash community feeds into itself. Good energy just becomes multiplied by like some crazy factor, and unfortunately bad energy just gets multiplied in the same way. And that's why we see characters that have just become like targets of just such vitriol. And I hope that I mean, obviously I'll be optimistic, and I'll hope that we don't have many situations like that in Ultimate, but we likely will, and that's the unfortunate truth.
Well said. So Gunner921 asks, I love this question. Would you rather fight one horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses? Also, what should I look out for when watching my clips? I mean, other than nice and naughty children? What is that? What are you talking about? I don't remember that part of the question.
Yeah.
I love how like every single sentence in that question is so distinctly unrelated to the other sentences in the question. It goes to the ducks, to the clips, to like Is that Santa Claus? Like Santa Claus mythology, like naughty and nice children? Is that, or whatever? But Abby, yeah, what's your take on that?
All right, what's my take on this question? 100 horse sized duck or 100 duck sized horses? Yeah, 100 duck sized horses. It would be easier to get like machinery or some kind of equipment to fend them all off.
Whoa! Okay,
Yeah,
Henry Ford. What is that? Oh, that's so disgusting.
Like I mean, fist. I mean, if we're talking about like, yeah, it's just like you'd be able to kick them. Like it's like you wouldn't be able. It's like I feel like if you're fighting mano a mano to this like horse-sized duck, like this thing could sit on you and it's over for you.
Right. So
Like,
my parents, their businesses, they operate a horse ranch. So I have cleaned and handled many horses in my days. I worked with them over the summers and stuff, throughout college. And so I've been around a lot of horses. The thing about horses is horses are total like beta males. Like you can kind of alpha up on a horse, and then it'll be like your best friend. Like if it starts to act mean, you just say, "Hey, horse, stop," and they'll be super well behaved boys. Ducks, on the other hand, they're kind of vicious.
yeah.
I don't trust ducks, although they're really cute. So yeah, you got to go with 100 horses because they'll all be afraid of you. They won't even want to fight you.
Very, very well said. Using that life experience.
Gotcha.
I like that. What should I look out for when watching my clips? Great question. We've talked about this previously. I think in our interview with SB Pro Tips, like particularly, is that when you're looking at yourself, you should. One thing that I like to do is every time I get hit, I basically say like, well, what did I do to get myself in that situation? I rewind. I look at the situation I put myself in. I look at the stage control. I look at which options I picked, and I look at it very objectively. Like we've said in the past, I pretend that I'm not the one playing. I look at it as if I'm criticizing someone that just like hurt me deeply. Like like I want to find everything wrong with this guy that's playing. I need to find everything wrong with this gameplay. And obviously not everyone is equipped to look at it like that, but I recommend somewhere in between that and trying to justify everything that you do, because easily the most important thing that you can do when watching your clips is just to objectively understand what you're looking at, and just make sure that you put it in a like a lens that allows you to analyze it productively.
You answered that really well, Abby, but I think you neglected the most important point. The last sentence of that question, which is, I mean, other than nice, naughty children.
Yes, if they're coming at you and you're doing some VOD review and they want you to make apple pie for them, and then some of them are just trying to unplug all of your stuff, that's something to look out for. Yeah.
Yeah, I like how for you, nice children are the ones that make you apple pie. Regardless. No, I mean, that's nice. You're right. I just wouldn't have gone to that. Yeah. That would have been what I gravitated towards, but
right.
Let's go for it.
Okay. So Don Quixote asks, how do you go about choosing a character that fits you?
Really good question. Oh, sorry. There was more to that question. You want to read the rest? Okay.
That is the entire question.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So when it comes to choosing a character that fits your playstyle, I think what I do, and I think this is good advice. What I've learned to do over time is find whatever your weaknesses are. For me, I'm the kind of person, I hate waiting around. Like if I have to play a character that requires enormous amounts of patience and like kind of wins the gameplay with, like, you know, death by 1,000 cuts, by just like slicing people with one cut over and over again until finally they die, and really playing that slow kind of patient neutral game, That's not what I do. I don't have the attention span for that. I'm too dumb. I'm too much of a like Homo erectus for that. You know, I need to play characters that incentivize going in, right? Or one of the reasons why I love Cloud is because he really encourages me to wait. When I don't have limit, I have to charge limit, and that's kind of a substitute for patience almost. I built into the character's kit. You know, I'm incentivized. Like my character saying, "No, Dane, it's so cool. It's cool. Just stand still. I'll give you some limit. Well, it'll be worth it. Trust me." And that really helped me. I found a character that really kind of negated my natural tendencies. Other people, maybe you're not very technical, no matter how much time you spend in the lab. You just can't seem to get those like crazy chic perfect pivot combos down. Okay, fine. Play a character that doesn't utilize as much tech skill in the combo game. You know, play a character that has a pretty straightforward combo game. I mean, Cloud fits that too. Maybe just play Cloud is what I'm getting at.
Yeah,
No,
like
no, but yeah, maybe play Jigglypuff or Donkey Kong has relatively less tech. I mean, Donkey Kong still has his stuff. I mean, but not to discredit Donkey Kong players, but you know, yeah, maybe Sheik isn't for you if you can't pivot.
You should be careful there, man.
Yeah, I know who I'm talking with. But yeah, that's what I would say. I would say find your weaknesses, find your strengths, find a character that negates your weaknesses, and that really accentuates your strengths.
Yeah, I think that's a great answer to the question. I have nothing to add. I think let's go on to the next one.
I'll
Channel
ask it.
blocking. Yeah, go for it.
Because I just really want to. Okay, Balaka is my boy. He asks, when the direct comes out, are you disappointed by anything from what was revealed? If so, why?
Well, the direct's out. Am I disappointed from anything? Not inherently. I think initially, just because the leak was so ridiculously filled with lots of lots of character diversity, that I was expecting at least maybe like 4 characters. I was initially disappointed, but now I think I've kind of recovered from that, and I'm super excited. Like I'm just really excited again, and I am not necessarily disappointed. I think even like over the course of this recording this podcast, I've become way more excited about the game.
Me too, man. Me too.
Than when I first started recording. Yeah, Peon, how about you?
Yeah, I think I mentioned earlier the Wi-Fi situation. I'm still not super confident about the online space in this game. But other than that, no, I'm not too disappointed by anything. I mean, maybe I would have liked to see my girl Dixie, like I'll keep on saying, but no, I'm not too disappointed beyond anything that I mentioned earlier. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Small Fry GC asks, going into Ultimate, how are you going to choose who you're gonna main? Are you going to try and find a top tier right off the bat, play a character you've played previously, or find a character that suits your playstyle? I actually think this kind of falls in with the answer to Don Quixote's question. But do you want to go and elaborate on that?
Yeah, sure. So I'll focus on the beginning part of it. You know, how are you going to choose who you're going to main to begin? Right, so I know just on a kit basis the characters I tend to gravitate towards, right, and that's so expanding on what I mentioned earlier of like negating your weaknesses and really accentuating your strengths. Whatever characters those are currently for you, I would suggest trying the new game's engine. See if they still apply, see what characters you feel are in a good state. In this new game that you already know their kit kind of complements your mindset and your playstyle. But that said, I really want to try some of the new characters. I mean, I've already accomplished things with these other characters that I've done. I've already reached all my goals as Cloud and as Falcon. I've kind of already fought those battles. They're kind of in the past for me. So I'm definitely going to try to play them because I know that their kit complements my playstyle, like I've been saying. But I want to try like King K. Rool. I want to try some of the characters I just really like from an aesthetic standpoint and see if their playstyle happens to fall in line with my preferences. And if they do, maybe I'll really explore that option, assuming they are good. I'm a competitive player, so I'm only going to play a character that's pretty good. I mean, I would suggest you guys do the same. I preach that message all the time. But yeah, I would. What do you think, Abhi? I mean, I don't really have anything more to add on that.
I think I'm gonna approach it a very similar way. I actually did promise a friend that I'd play Sheik at the very beginning of the game. Sheik is the character I've played at the very beginning of every game. Yeah, I played Sheik at the beginning when I first started playing Melee. I played Sheik when I first started playing Brawl, and I played Sheik, and I mained Sheik for 1.5 years in Smash 4.
Who's your
So
64 main?
I did not play 64.
Ever?
I played once when I was really young, and I don't really count that.
That's
so,
crazy. Okay, I know what we're doing next time you come over.
All right, when next time I come, I'm playing some 64. But yeah, I think I'll be maining Sheik in Smash Ultimate for the very beginning, and then we'll see where it goes from there. I'm someone who plays a ton of characters, so I'll probably just pick up all the top tiers and then just kind of figure out figure out what's gonna be enjoyable to me. But yes, I will be sticking with one character for a while, just so I can learn the game and all of its mechanics consistently. I think it's important. It's really important if you want to improve super fast, you should figure out a character super fast, like try them all, and then figure out one and stick to it. Then you can learn, then you can learn all of the game itself, which is this is the fundamentals. You're building up the house. You're building up the fundamentals. So if you want to build that up, you got to stick to one character, learn everything that's external to your character, and then so you don't have to worry about different variables within characters, and then start building up your experience with all of these characters. And that's what I'd recommend. If you're casual, just do whatever you want. just play is cool. I know like I'm going to be doing a mix of these two approaches, and I will definitely be playing like a bunch of characters that I'm super excited for, like Snake and Ridley.
Great.
Going on from that, why don't you ask the next question?
Okay, so Alex Jonitz asks, I said that weird. Alex Jonitz, he's my actual friend, so I shouldn't butcher that. If you lose a lot of sets last hit to top players in your region, what steps do you take to get over that hump?
So here's the thing. Like we've said in the past, those top players have been in that situation way more than you have. Assuming that they've been playing for longer, which is usually the case. So you just got to be in that situation more. The more times you're in that situation, the more the more like you're used to it. The more that your brain has been like is disassociating this fear and anxiety that comes with being in a last hit, last stock situation. And eventually, you're just there'll be a point where you're very confident in your play to the point that it'll just flow.
Right.
Now reaching this point of flow is an entire episode in itself, and we will cover that. Other than that, sometimes you just get lucky.
Yeah.
like seriously. However, it's important to know that if you get lucky, if you get that random footstool, you go for that rando dash attack and it somehow works, take a note of that and don't rely on it, because once you start relying on it, once your brain once you get that super crazy upset doing dash attack in neutral randomly, you're gonna start doing it in other matches because you got the positive feedback from it. Don't do it. Don't give in to bad tendencies just because you're rewarded for them, and make sure you recognize that.
Yeah, super quick. I just want to chime in too because I love this question. It comes down to three things in my mind, like you said. The other player, one, has been in the situation more than you have. If they're a top player and you're not, right? So they have that advantage there. Two, if they're a better player than you, then statistically speaking, in that last hit scenario, they're going to outplay you. I mean, if they're the better player than you, on average, they're going to play better in that one. You know, if you're a betting man, you're going to say that person's going to win the encounter. And three, it could be a lot. Your heart could be beating in that situation. I can beat you. Maybe you're last against zero. Okay, all I have to do is beat zero in this one neutral interaction. I win. It's a lot of pressure on yourself. You get nervous. You start throwing stuff away. You start playing uncalm. So really focus on those three. Focus on what you can control. Really focus on the game. Try to strip the factors outside of the game. What contextualizes the match outside of the game. Try to strip that all the way. And it's much harder to do than to say, but take away all the context from the match and just focus on the characters on screen. If you're about to beat Zero, don't think about Zero. Think about that Diddy Kong. Think about what options he has in the situation, what options you have, and just try to outplay them in that one moment. Be better than them. and try to not think. But yeah, like you said, that could be a whole another episode in and of itself.
Yeah, definitely. I think we're gonna go on to our last question. Diamond from Diamond Dawn fan. How do you deal with toxic players? Like if they say, "I hate X character" or "I'm so bad." I never feel bad, but others might.
Toxic players. I don't know, man. I don't think I'm qualified to answer this. When it comes to toxic people, I just think it's kind of funny that they're toxic. I don't really get too bothered by it. If someone's like, I hate, say you're a Cloud main, someone's like, I hate Cloud. That's kind of, I'd say, like, let that fuel you. Like, be masochistic about it. Or no, is it sadistic when you want to hurt others?
Yeah.
Sadistic? Yeah, be sadistic about it. Be like, haha, I'm making him hate Cloud. Like, that must mean my Cloud is sick. That's how I would think about it. Is that an oversimplification, Abhi?
I think it's one way to think about it. Not everyone's like that.
Not everybody's a jerk.
I don't think you're a jerk either. I think it's a natural. It's one of the ways to deal with it. I think it's okay to if someone's being mean about your character and trying to pin all of your skill on a certain character or trying to take something away from you, using techniques like this that basically say, yes, it's like, yeah, you know what, I'm gonna feel myself because if you're complaining, that just means I'm doing well. It's a good way to think about it, and as long as you're not kind of feeding back negative energy into the community, I think that's fine, as long as it's kind of like an internal dialogue. I've dealt with a lot of toxic players as a TO and as a competitor, and dealing with them is a lot. There's like two types. One is reformable, and one is just beyond reformable. What I think I've had a lot of success. There's 99% of the cases are actually reformable toxic players. You just have to show compassion towards them. You don't feel like you should, and no one ever tries to do that, but there are people that are very redeemable and that just have, and they're just going through something, or they're really frustrated by something that could just be fixed by listening to them, or trying to understand their point of view. If they're just, and then there's some people that are just unredeemable. I don't like saying that, but it's to the point where they will not respond to any type of emotional stimuli, and those people you just have to ignore. Like, there's nothing else. Like, you just hope that you ignore, you just ignore them until you like, and just don't interact with them when you don't have to. And I think that's. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I think that's a really good way to look at it, and yeah, that's why you're a good TO. Like, you're mature, simply put. But yeah, and I mean, that's why I'm a good player, is because I love to make toxic players cry. Okay, but I want to mention one last little Twitter interaction we had. The homie Matthew Jalerick, I don't know how to pronounce the last name. It's like something out of a Tolkien book. But either way, brought up Board the Platforms in reference to what he wanted to see on the direct. God. And let me just say, baby, I'm not giving up hope. I still think Board the Platforms might be making an appearance. Just you wait, you haters. Okay, Board the Platforms is making its return, and see me, screw competitive. I'm about to be this Board and Platforms, baby.
And that's it for this episode of Beyond the Metagame. But we're Board the Platforms is not happening. It's not happening.
Yeah, but thank you guys so much for joining us. And I'll disregard what you just said, Abhi. Thank you guys so much for joining us. This was a monster of an episode. This will definitely be our longest one yet. And but look, we had a lot to go over, and I think that just speaks to our excitement post direct and going into this game. It's a lot to digest and it's a lot to talk about, and we're stoked. If you can't hear it, we're very, very optimistic for the future ahead, and it's been a pleasure talking about this with you, Abhi, today. It's been great.
Yeah, definitely, man.
But yeah, Abhi, where can people find you?
People can find me at and then Vaidyanatha on Twitter. Yep, my long Indian last name. Just look at it on the site, beyondthemetagame.com. Or at our Twitter, which is at Beyond Metagame.
And you can find my personal Twitter at Peon, PEON_GCE. That's Golf Charlie Echo. And yeah, tweet at us. Let us know what's up. We've had a lot of great community interactions. And speaking of community interactions, we are in the process still of launching our Discord. So expect links to come out. Join up. Come talk to us. Come contribute. Come tell us what you want us to talk about on the show. And yeah, come have conversations with us. I'd love to talk to you guys personally and get to know some of the people in our community and just have fun together, man. Really, maybe even play some games since Ultimate comes out, have a fun community on there. So expect that in the future. And guys, thank you for watching. You can find us wherever you find podcasts. You can find us on beyondmetagame.com, or beyondthemetagame.com, like Abhi said, and on YouTube. So once again, guys, thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.